Although competition is probably not the best motivation to join a game jam, it is a known fact that getting a good position at one of these events could make your work more visible. And growing an audience is a big challenge for indie game developers, whether it is to get a boost at your game development career or just to gather valuable feedback for a game you're making.
Good.
There has been some research on how to improve a game's chances to succeed at a game jam. I read several scientific papers on the topic, and these are the findings that really caught my attention. Puzzle games and platformers seem to have a greater success rate than other game genres. The reason behind this phenomenon is not clear. It could be that these games naturally present the type of compact gameplay that just works for games done in short periods of time. But it is also possible that people rating these games, usually game developers as well, have a tendency to enjoy these genres the most. Whatever the reason, puzzles and platformers tend to have better ratings. There is also evidence of players appreciating good narratives, so scoping the game within a story seems like a fair addition. To my surprise, the top-ranked games usually only provide PC builds, definitely for Windows, usually also for Mac and sometimes for Linux, but do not support playing from web browsers. The reason for this is sometimes obvious. HTML does lack many features, and some games definitely look better running directly on the players' computers. However, most of the time browser limitations don't have a great impact for games developed for jams, as these tend to be simple and not heavy on performance. One theory is that by building for PC only, developers are enforcing an immersive experience to the player, one that playing on the browser does not provide. It could also make the game feel more elaborate and professional. That being said, it is important to notice that not supporting playing from the browser will probably make your game get less reviews, so it can be counterproductive if not handled properly. Short and simple games are usually better received. This is one of the most popular tips game jam enthusiasts share, and I'm trying to avoid repeating what everyone says, but in this case the fact is also supported by several scientific articles. The argument here is that players nowadays really appreciate completing a game in one session, and this is especially true for people reviewing games in jams. Keeping your games short also gives you more time to focus on polishing and making the overall experience feel more clean and complete. Games with extensive descriptions tend to get more reviews and achieve better scores. It's hard to say how the implication works. It could be that having a lengthy description makes the game more clear and thus has an impact on the final score, but it could also be that good games are developed by careful people who also pay attention to these details. I don't know if just focusing on writing a good description is enough to get better results, but I think it is helpful to understand the mindset of the people that write these kind of descriptions. Details matter, and everything we can do to make the player's experience better deserves attention, descriptions included. Experienced game developers reported getting better results by defining the main idea for the game and picking the assets they are going to use in early stages of the process, avoiding going back to iterate on those later. Unlike in big and commercial projects, where it is advisable to keep an iterative approach throughout the entire lifecycle of the project, game jams enforce a more goal-driven approach, especially those with tight time constraints. So try to prototype an idea as quickly as possible and lock the assets you will need right after that. Of course, I don't think we should be strict with this rule, but it helps to keep in mind as a rule of thumb on how to spend your time, as time for programming, building levels, playtesting and fixing bugs is usually underestimated. When the rules of the jam allow it, working with a team is recommended. It is important to try and define specific roles for each member and to be cautious with the size of the team, as forming a very big group proves to be counterproductive. Research also shows that game jams are a great space to develop social skills. Participants explain that these events are usually safe and friendly spaces and that building a game together seems to relieve tensions between strangers. So if you don't have a team, consider joining with strangers. Most game jams provide a communication channel for people to get to know each other and form teams. That was my summary of some interesting research findings. Hopefully you learned a trick or two to improve your results in the next game jam. Above all, just remember to have fun and try to learn something in the process. I read a bunch of papers so you don't have to, and I really enjoyed preparing this summary, so if it is valuable for other developers, I'd be happy to do more of this in the future. Consider subscribing if you are interested in hearing more about the game development topics tackled with science, and see you next time.